Welcome to the Amplifying Leadership podcast, where we talk about all the ways to make leadership great through tips, information, and guest stories. My name is Tara Lehman, and I am a partner, coach, and consultant at Twin Life Coaching and Business Services. Barb, who is also my identical twin sister, and I started Twin Life Coaching and Business Services in 2017. Our vision is to help individuals and businesses achieve their goals, overcome obstacles, and empower change. For our leadership clients, we aim to provide effective leadership coaching and workshops to build employees and have greater talent in your organization. You, of course, can find more about us and all of our services at twinlifecoaching.ca. Today, I am, of course, welcoming my wonderful sister, Barb Schutz, who is also my partner in crime and business partner to my podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Barb.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I have to have my second podcast with my sister. It doesn't make sense to do it any other way. So, Barb, why don't you start by telling us a bit of your leadership story, where you started and maybe where you are now?
So, outside of coaching, I work in the developmental services sector. I started there about almost 26 years ago at working a part-time position in a group home setting. And then from there, I went full-time and then to an on-call management role and then into my current role. So my leadership kind of grew over the years into various different positions.
And what did you do to get those various positions? Did you have to apply or did you have to open the doors for yourself? How did that work?
In that organization, it's application. So, you would apply to an internal posting, then you would go through the competition of interviews, and then they would select the candidate they thought was best suited.
All right, great. So on your leadership journey, what was the biggest obstacle you feel you had to overcome, either personally or at work, whichever is going to work for you? But what do you think that biggest obstacle was for you?
I'd say for moving up in the organization, that it was an obstacle because it's a large organization. So you have a lot of competition when there's a job application, especially in a leadership role. Back then, when I first started, they were far and few between. And so there was a lot of competition, going through 3 or 4 interviews just for one position that you may not end up getting. Luckily for me, I was able to land a couple of them. And even when I was an on-call manager, I still had to go through the interview process to become the program resource manager that I am now.
All right. Sounds like a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know me, communication for me is part of all leadership. What do you think communication should look like to be a great leader?
So for me, I think it's that where I am anyway, at my place of work, is an open door policy. I encourage anyone to come to me if they've got an idea. I'm open to hearing it. We're always up for change and we always have to adapt and adjust. And I don't want to be somebody who people feel like they can't come to. So I'm approachable and I ensure that, I'm listening to what they're saying. And if they have a really good idea that I think is going to be great, then I will figure out how to make it happen. So I never close my door to people. It's always an open door policy and open idea policy.
And you said my favorite word. Listening, active listening. I talked about it in episode 1. It is all over communication and it's so important. What do you think about active listening? How important is that to you?
Oh, it's really important. I mean, that's how you get collaboration. That's how you get people supporting you in your decisions. And, but it also shows that you're listening to what they're saying and you're hearing all the words they're saying. You're not just hearing what you want to hear. You're
100% agree. All right. So you do work in nonprofit. What do you think the biggest obstacle is for women in leadership or even just leadership in general?
I think a lot of it in that sector, it is very female driven. There are men in the sector, but I think for them, it's a little more challenging. So I think it's actually a little bit more of the opposite. It's very female driven. And when you have that one-off male leader, I think they kind of feel a bit isolated and everybody has to work around that, I think can be challenging for some. But, I don't know that at least where I'm coming from, where there's any big challenge specific to women. I actually think it would be the opposite. Kind of like the trucking industry and it's all about
Mhm.
men and you've got that single woman, it's the same idea. It's all about women. And you may have that, one or two men in the leadership roles when there's maybe 30 leaders in your organization.
So how do you make the men feel included when it comes to leadership?
Well, it's the same way. I mean, you develop a rapport with everybody that you work with. If you need them to adjust something they're doing, you talk it through. I just try to treat everybody the same.
Awesome. So what do you feel is the biggest part of leadership in order to lead effectively?
I think, like I said earlier, that open door policy, that listening to ideas. If there's an idea out there that somebody has that's really, really good, I'm not going to shut it down because maybe they're, a staff below me in level. If it's a part-time weekend staff and they have a brilliant idea, I'm all over it. So let's make it happen. I'm not the only person that can do certain things. So if I'm working on a project and I need support, anyone with an idea, like, yeah, great, let's make it happen, because I can't always think of everything. So I think it's really important not to forget the little people. Not little people, that's the wrong word, but like the lesser positions, not to forget those people, and don't, make them feel included as well.
I was just going to say, you're talking inclusivity to me. It just sounds
Yeah.
all encompassing of everybody and their diversities and their ideas and everything like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what would you say would be your biggest tip to share with our audience? So I know we've already talked a bit about open door policy and communication. Would there be another great tip that you could share with our audience?
Be respectful. Like, as a leader, be respectful to your team and they'll respect you back. I don't think my team sees me as more superior to them, so to speak. They don't. Like, we are all equals. We're all working for the same organization. I just have different responsibilities, and that's how I treat it. Yes, they may come to me with questions or concerns or things that we need to address on that level, but I think it's really important that everyone in your organization is equal. Everyone has ideas, everyone has thoughts, and everybody should be treated that way. Just hearing people, like I've said the whole time, I'm a very I like to work collaboratively with others, and I think that that's really important.
So I know when you and I talk leadership and we were developing a different workshop, we talk a lot about goal setting. Do you have any points for goal setting for leaders that maybe you could share today?
Goal setting, I mean, I would look at your organizational structure if you're a leader and figure out where the weaknesses are, and how you can set goals to strengthen those. It might be doing a little evaluating before you start setting goals to kind of determine what are the areas that need done. If you're going to work on goals that are organizational, don't forget to include everybody in those goals. So saying something to people like, we're going to have a large change management, whatever it might be, doing surveys or getting feedback or talking to everybody and making sure that everybody's not just on board, but everybody understands it. I just think before you set a goal, make sure people are aware of what that goal is and why that goal is there.
I have one more question, because both of you and I do this constantly. We're always professionally developing ourselves, whether it's with our leadership or our coaching or your nutrition. So why do you think that would be so important, that leaders continually to develop their professional leadership skills, such as goal setting and communication and listening and even self-care?
I think it's really important because the world isn't stagnant, and neither should we be. Everything is revolving and moving, and we need to be doing the same thing. We need to be adjusting and adapting to the times, and the times are changing no matter where you work. And it doesn't matter what it is that you do. There's always something new out there, more effective to learn. Doesn't even matter what field you're in. There might be a new tool out there that you want to learn, or even somebody who is feeling stagnant in their position and wants to learn something completely different. The world doesn't sit still, so we shouldn't either.
I agree. And, you and I both know we even redo some of our coaching skills sometimes, or the same leadership skills over again. And it's like a reminder of what we learned that maybe we've forgotten how to practice, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So before we end today, Barb, is there anything else that you would like to share on the leadership topic or even leadership in nonprofit with us today?
No, I think I touched on pretty much everything. I think it's really important. Like I said, collaboration with your entire team, not just your leadership team, is really important, and input from everybody. And not to forget that, yeah, we are in a changing world and we need to adapt to that change.
Great. Thanks, Barb, for joining me and sharing your story with everybody today.
Thank you.
I'm sure Barb will be back on another episode later on, but in the meantime, I'm always looking for leaders who have some great stories, tips, or successes to share. And maybe you're a leader to be who wants to share your obstacles and successes as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you're interested by emailing tara@twinlifecoaching.ca. Thank you very much for your time today. And as always, I hope you gained some insights and maybe some great ideas on leadership to take back to your organization. If you are in need of some leadership coaching or workshops, then please reach out to me at tara@twinlifecoaching.ca. Until next time, please be safe and be an amazing leader or leader to be.